This is Joshua Hart here for Seconds Out. Delighted today for the second Monday in a row, joined by Billy Nelson. Billy, it's good to see you. Thank you for your time. And how is everything?
Oh, good, mate. I had a enjoyable weekend down in London. Back to the grind today, and looking forward to a couple of fights next week that I've got next Friday, and then hopefully a couple a week after that, maybe, or 2 weeks after that. Sorry.
Well, it's very good to hear. Very good to hear. You got some fights coming up. Obviously, you were at some fights at the weekend, not just any fight in particular. Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois, the big one, or one that had everyone talking going into the build-up, and we've now seen it. We've got the conclusion. A result that I could say that you didn't expect necessarily. Daniel Dubois knocking out Anthony Joshua in 5 rounds in what a lot of people would describe as a demolition job and domination from Dubois. What did you make of it?
Well, it was only a very dominant display because Anthony Joshua allowed it to be that. With his defence was, I've never seen it as poor, to be perfectly honest with you. I think when he goes home and analyses that performance, he'll be kicking himself why, he was, the hands were low, the chin was up. Having you teach a fighter not to do, he done. So, you've only got yourself to blame. But no many boxers can take the blame for things that happen. They usually blame the coaches and sack the coaches. But that's just one of those things, isn't it?
What do you make of the way Anthony Joshua? Some fans believe it was taunting Dubois at times, sticking his tongue out, shaking his head. What did you make of those types of antics from him?
People do that to hurt. Plain and simple. And he was.
So do you believe he wasn't? Do you believe he was trying to get in Dubois' head and maybe try and deter Dubois?
Aye, of course, aye, but Daniel stuck to. I thought Daniel was looking really tired at the beginning of the fifth round as well. So it was a case of who walked onto a punch, and it was Anthony Joshua. I mean, he threw that uppercut for a mile away, an absolute mile away, way too far, way too out a distance for an uppercut, especially when the guy's against the ropes. We can't go anywhere else. You need to get closer. And I posted Martin Bakole's left uppercut against Jared Anderson as a prime example of that. That's how you throw an uppercut when you're close enough to throw it, not for a way out there, leaving yourself exposed. Because he not only threw the uppercut and dropped the left as well. Boom, right hand. It's harder to miss.
Anthony Joshua and his team, they're adamant that Anthony Joshua will fight on. Fans are speculating that what is out there for him, is there anything left for him? Is there anything left in him? What do you make of his decision to continue with his professional boxing career?
Well, mate, it's entirely up to Anthony Joshua, but he's made a lot of money out of boxing. I'm sure he'll be comfortable for the rest of his life and his family for generations. If it was my boxer, I would I would ask him to retire. But boxers can be very pig-headed, and other people can be telling them or advising them to continue when they've not got their best interests at heart. So
Fair enough. Ben Davison, a lot of people have been questioning the game plan because it's not exactly like we saw a competitive fight in there. One thing I do want to get your thoughts on, I want to get your thoughts on how you deal with this situation. So there's a clip going around on social media. I believe it's after the third round when Joshua gets dropped for the second time. He sits down on his stool and then says to Ben Davison, he's shit, basically saying that Dubois is not very good. As a trainer, if you've got a fighter who's been dropped for the second time within 3 rounds, coming back to the corner and saying that someone's shit, how would you deal with that? What would you be saying to your fighter in that minute?
well, if I'm perfectly honest, my boxers don't generally talk back to me. They listen. That's what I'm paid for, to give advice. I would be concerned if they certainly I'd be concerned if they're saying, "Oh, he's shit." Well, he might be shit, but he's put you down 2 or 3 times so far. So it doesn't say much for your performance. You know what I mean? So God gave us 2 eyes and 2 ears to listen and learn, and one mouth to talk. It's his job to listen to his coach's instructions but I have no idea what roll the dice means in boxing. I'd like to be enlightened on that one. I'd love to know what that means in a fight terminology. Roll the dice. I
Would you
mean,
say,
just go and have a go at him, and you're only in the fourth round. I think in hindsight, which is a wonderful thing, at the end of the first round, I think he should have been advised to get up on his toes, box him, and try and get the legs back under him. But he was trying to, I've never seen Anthony Joshua try to box on apart from Andy Ruiz, box on the back foot for as much as what he did there. He had a wee go in the fifth round, but then again, he came out of shell and got clocked.
and then
I couldn't work out what the game plan was.
really?
But irrespective of whatever the game plan was, I'm sure in that game plan it wasn't keep your left hand down at your waist and keep your chin up in the air when you're coming out throwing combination punches.
Would it be fair to say that there was a bit of, I guess you could say, a bit of a ego in AJ's performance in the low hands, the chin up in the air?
I don't know if it's ego or just stupidness. Just stupidness. Because he has been dropped previously, so he must know every boxer can get hurt, but you've got a far greater chance of getting hurt if you have no defence.
Mm.
I just couldn't understand it. Could not for the life of me understand it.
And then for Daniel Dubois, obviously now a world champion, a world champion going into the fight. And when we spoke last week, you agreed with most people that it was hard to view him as a world champion. Now that we've seen that fight, does that kill the doubts of him not being a world champion now?
Of course, he's a world champion now. Got his grave, very happy man. Nobody ever can say that he's not a world champion. And he done exceptionally well. I mean, he done exceptionally well.
And then looking forward for him now, a lot of names are being pushed at him. Frank said he wants him to fight again in December. And I know you want Martin Bakole to fight in December. I'm not going to ask, do you want that fight? Because I already know the answer. But if it is Martin Bakole versus Daniel Dubois next, what does Martin need to do in order to defeat Daniel Dubois?
Do what Martin Bakole does. Martin Bakole is levels above Daniel Dubois. Levels. He's proved it already to him when he made him quit and spar and broke his nose. He's done it all with him. And that was only when he was 60% in second gear. He will annihilate Daniel. Daniel knows it, but Daniel knows it. And if see if they think I'm talking shit, make the fight and we'll prove it gladly. They won't make the fight. And you can't blame him. You can't blame him. But Frank Warren's team will never, unless Martin becomes the mandatory challenger, fight Martin Bakole. He's already got Zank to run away. He's got his trainers with the double knots in them running. He's run away. He's in the distance now. We can't see him for this now. So we've had to go to alternative opponents because Zhang said no thank you. Or Zhang's team.
What do you make of Zhang not wanting to fight Martin Bakole anymore? When you see that, obviously I'm sure it's frustration, but
well, listen, as I said to you before, and I've said it for years, they talk shite. I'll fight anybody. Fight Martin Bakole? No. Mate, I could give you a top 10 of that would shock you who have said no to him to the fight. But, we just have, in fact, see our next opponent. It's a harder fight for me than Zhang. So I'm delighted. And there'll be not financially, it'll be very good. But rankings wise, it'll be fantastic. If the fight happens.
So is this a fight that you're looking at that you can't necessarily say, but is this a big fight for Martin next?
Huge fight, because he'll then become number one in two organisations. He's already won in one of them, but he'll become number one in another one. So how far would they be away for a world title shot then? Surely, goodness, it'd need to be the next fight. if the belts get fragmented.
You got to think if he's number one in two sanctioning bodies, you'd ideally in an ideal boxing world that would get him a shot at a vacant title, surely.
The boxing world's never ideal, mate. I mean, they're that fight there on Saturday. What? No, it's now been said that one promoter says there's a rematch, the other one says there's no rematch. Daniel's promoter said that Daniel's not got a rematch clause in it, but Eddie says AJ has got a rematch clause in it. So who do you believe? But should there be a rematch clause in a voluntary defence? Of course there shouldn't be. Under no circumstances should that ever be sanctioned by any sanctioning body.
Something that so obviously post fight I've been doing a lot of reading and watching, obviously of reaction to AJ Dubois. So I saw something from the IBF where on their website it's got listed that the Anthony Joshua fight for Daniel Dubois, apparently that was a mandatory defence. What's your initial thoughts on that?
How can it be a mandatory defence when you just get given the title? I'd be shocked if I was, but even more so, a mandatory. You're getting a so you've earned the right to get a shot at it. So, but they're getting a rematch clause. That's just holding everyone up again, isn't it?
What do you make of Anthony Joshua?
Fury had 3 fights. Fury had 3 fights with Wilder. AJ had 2 fights with Usyk, 2 fights with Ruiz, potentially 2 fights with AJ. What about the rest of the guys that are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the rankings that are trying to get shots? And it's really unfair. It's really unfair, I think.
What do you make of Anthony Joshua? He has the challenger going into the fight, and Eddie saying initially post fight that he has a rematch clause. Because for me and a lot of boxing fans, I've never really seen a challenger have a rematch clause.
Well, that's the point I'm making. Why is that the case? But why are you, if you're that confident of beating Daniel or anybody, doesn't matter. We're just talking, saying AJ and Daniel, for instance. Why would you want a rematch clause if you were that confident you beat the man? You know, no, listen, I can understand. Sorry, I actually got mixed up earlier on. It was a mandatory defence. A mandatory defence. So there should never be a rematch clause in a mandatory defence because, never. A voluntary, yes, because the champion's given you the opportunity to fight for it.
Yes.
But not a mandatory. That mandatory challenger has earned the right to fight for that. But no get a second bite of the apple if you get beat. That's just not right. It's not right. And it really, really, really has to be addressed. It's just holding up everything.
Especially with how long the heavyweight division's been held up for now, because
I think the WBO and the WBA after the Fury and Usyk rematch will certainly ask for the mandatories to be fought.
Do you feel there's more of a chance for Martin to fight the winner of Fury Usyk 2 or to fight for a vacant title?
There's no chance Fury or Usyk will fight Martin. No chance, especially Usyk. But I think there's more chance he'd fight for a vacant title. But I'd rather beat a champion.
Yeah. What makes it more preferable to beat the champion? Is it just to remove all doubts?
Of course. You get. I think you get a wee bit more recognition. People say, "Oh, it was a kind of half-hand-picked opponent." No, if you're number 1 and number 2 in the rankings, it's not as if you're going to fight somebody at number 13. That's maybe, if I talk say an 18-3 opponent, that's been that's got beat a few times. No, I believe that if you're mandatory, if you fight for a vacant title, then it should be the number 1 and number 2 ranked contenders in the rankings if they're available. And if one's available and 2 isn't, you go to 3, and so on and so forth. Like supposedly what they done when Hrgovic supposedly couldn't get an opponent in the top 15, which was a lot of shite because
we were talking about the heavyweight division being held up. with all the
Mhm.
champions at the
I
top.
believe, yeah, I mean, I remember the time when Hrgovic, the IBF, when he was to get a defence of his interim title, he claimed he went right down to 15, which is a lie because we never got asked for the fight.
And then looking if there is to be a rematch between Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois, how do you believe that plays out?
AJ would certainly need to tighten up his defence, wouldn't he? Because the one thing Daniel can do is punch, but that's about it. He can get outboxed, outthought, and Martin Bakole is not a light puncher. Let's be perfectly honest. If they fought Martin Bakole, I do honestly think, I know he'll school him and then stop him because he'll get flashbacks. He'll be saying, I remember what he done to me with 20-ounce gloves on the head guard. And when he starts pounding the punches off his head with 10-ounce gloves on, he ain't gonna like it.
And then for Anthony Joshua, as well as talks of a rematch, because Eddie Hearn was then on Sky Sports today, and he was asked, "Is there a rematch clause?" And his response was, "We have a fight left with our Riyadh season deal, and that could include a Daniel Dubois rematch." So as it seems now, with obviously time passing by, it seems that there isn't necessarily a rematch clause, but with the power from Turki Al Sheikh that there could be a rematch, but there's not a guaranteed rematch clause if there's interest from both sides.
You just don't know what happens, mate. I really think you'd be better asking Turkey Al Sheikh what's going to happen because he is the man now. He is the man that's making all the big fights. He's got all the fighters want to fight there because they're getting involved in the best fights. These fights would never have happened if it wasn't for
Hmm.
that man and the team that's behind him. So and I was there on Saturday night. I was treated brilliantly. The hospitality was unbelievable. What a setup! What a setup!
And then some people have started saying that there could be interest again in Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder following their recent performances. I can tell by your face that that might not be a fight that interests you.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think Deontay Wilder should be fighting and taking punches?
In my personal opinion, I don't think he should know, but
In my personal opinion, I totally agree with you.
it's good to know.
Based on that performance on Saturday night, do you think Anthony Joshua should still be taking punches?
Again, in my opinion, thinking of his health, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Once again, 100% I agree with you.
Billy, I think we're getting on
Because
quite well here.
because if people who genuinely care about the man, and he's a brilliant guy, by the way, what he's done for British boxing, people can't thank him enough.
Hmm.
If people really care about him, let him go and sail away into the distance.
Yeah.
And live a wonderful life
Well,
because
Billy,
he's earned it.
exactly. I think you make a good point there. I think you make a very good point there, Billy. Thank you very much for your time this evening. It's always good to catch up with you, and we'll speak again very soon.
See you next Monday. Cheers.
See you next Monday, Billy. Thank you very much.